Monday, start of the new week.
Ugh, you're flipping happy.
Can you go and recover a car from some nails, please?
You know, Moni, it's bad enough being a Monday, let alone being reminded I've actually got to do some frigging work as well. So by the way, what's wrong with this car?
I think he's hit a curb. I think he's just got a flat tyre. Nothing much, really.
Nothing much, I've heard that one before. By the way, years ago, when I was like a youngster, I was acting the fool. I was in my Morris Marina, wheel spinning in reverse. I went straight into the back of this bloody Austin Montego. This little old woman gets out and she goes, "You wait till my husband gets back. My car will never be the same again."
Are you still here?
All right, I can take a hint. See ya. Surprise! Oh my God. Can you just tell it's Monday morning? Flipping heck. Another total taxi. The question is, number one, can we even get it on the flipping trailer? That wheel's been pushed right back. So it's going to be hard to manoeuvre it, that's for sure. And yep, the drive shaft's completely gone. Where it's gone, it's on the floor down there. Oh my God. Shock absorber's pushed right back. God only knows about the subframe. This might just be superficial damage apart from the suspension. I should think the bottom arm's completely snapped off. I can't even see that. I'm hoping the chassis might be okay. The front wing's completely totaled, that's for sure. Done some damage to the door. Can't really tell at the moment because it's overlapping the door. Oh dear, that's only a plastic panel. So that skirt panel, that's nothing. Flat tyre. Oh my God, the actual wheel rim. Holy shit! The actual wheel rim is completely caved in. Can you see that crack? Holy crap! He must have hit. I don't know exactly what he's hit. I think it was a central reservation. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to find out what he's hit and what happened here. The headlight's completely had it. The bumper's totaled. But the bonnet, that's not even marked. Oh look, someone's even picked the bearings off the drive shaft, the inner joint bearings. So yeah, this side's okay. So on the face of it, I would say, well, obviously a new wing, wheel, tyre, front bumper, skirt, drive shaft, bottom arm, possibly shock absorber because that's probably bent as well. Nice. Anyway, once we figure out, because I'm in St Neots at the minute, I've got to get this car back to Alconbury. If it won't go on our trailer, we'll have to get it recovered back somehow to our yard. Then I'm going to do an estimate on it, put it on the ramp, see if we can find out whether the chassis or the subframe's been damaged. If it hasn't, then it's not too bad. It's just a case of a few suspension bits, body panels, and we'll have this back together, I'm sure. Anyway, let's crack on. Perfection. Woohoo! Excellent job. You're okay? Can you fix it? Can you fix it?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I'm Mon the builder.
Mon the builder.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a little project for you,
Lovely.
courtesy of a lovely taxi driver. I reckon with a slap of paint and a few body panels it'll be as right as rain.
Yeah, I don't think the insurance will feel the same way though.
The washer bottle's certainly taken a whack. The actual pump, that's all that's left of the pump. And there's also a level sensor that should go in there that's completely missing. So I think we're going to be needing a complete new bottle with pump and sensor. I think we can safely say, look, look, it's saying hello. That's the outer drive shaft joint. That's completely muddled. There's bloody shafts come separated from the actual joints that are inside it. So, and that's the inner bit of the joint where the three bearings have gone. You know these drive shafts, this like for this driver's side, from Ford, I asked them the price. It's £599 plus VAT for this drive shaft, which comes with the part inside there with the bearing on it. It's got like a central bearing to stabilise it. I'm going to get that bit out next. But yeah, there's our bottom arm. Flipping heck. So I could be safely can say that the bottom arm, and I should think the wheel and the shock absorber took the brunt of it, because that shock absorber that's bent like a banana there. You can't put this shock back on, the wheel will be sitting too far forward or backwards. So we need new shock, new bottom arm, new drive shaft. The wheel bearing, I think it's probably best to put a new wheel bearing in it anyway, considering the whack that wheel took. Anyway, now I've got to try and get the rest of the arm off the subframe and get that bloody drive shaft out, so I'll carry on. Yeah! Flip, that's heavy. In actual fact, I'm going to rewind a little bit. I am not going to put anything here back on the car, nothing. The hub, the wheel bearing, the drive shaft, the disc, the arm, well the arm, that's bloody obvious. But no, because of the severity of the whack that this car's had, I mean, to crack the wheel like that, God only knows, it could well have cracked the wheel bearing. So it's done a hell of a lot of damage to the drive shaft. The bloody shock absorber's bent, so I don't even know if this hub's taken any kind of damage that I can't see at the moment. But I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to change the bloody lot. Now this front lower arm bolt, this is the flipping tight one, so I don't fancy undoing it by hand. Let's see how we go. Nope. Yeah, like I said, holy shit, that bolt's tight. Right, I've tightened it up a bit now and undone it and tightened it and undone it a few times. Now hopefully it'll come undone. Flipping bingo. That's all that's left is the bush. Right, now that all the suspension is off that I think I need to take off, from what I can see of the subframe, it looks okay. The anti-roll bar looks okay, even the drop link looks okay. There's a very tiny kink there, which I'll ignore. The actual steering, which was a big concern here, because these steering racks are like mega money. Before I started taking it apart, I did start the engine up, and the steering is working. It goes from side to side. Well, at least with as best I could actually try and operate the steering. It was working fine, so I'm going to assume the steering's okay. And plus, this arm, when the wheel got hit, this arm would have just gone back like that. So I don't think it's done any damage to the actual casing of the rack, but I can't really tell for sure. But I'll check that when I get this car on the ramp and all built back up. But I'm pretty confident the rack's okay. So everything is looking not too bad, and even like, see this passenger door or driver's door where it comes down here, it's pulled round and it's lipped around, that can be bent straight again. There's a few little dings in it, so that can be touched up, but where the wing bolt's on at the bottom, it's pretty straight. That's all good still. So I'm going to get this skirt panel off shortly and see how we go along there. But I think the skirt, the sill and everything's going to be fine. So up here, the main chassis, that's all looking good. I think we've got away lucky. I think it's just done a load of cosmetic stuff. You've got part of the main chassis here where it's buckled over, but that's no big deal. I mean, I can get the new wing and I can manipulate it about to make it fit on properly, but the main structure of the vehicle is okay. I will say though, which I have noticed, there was a puddle of oil on the ground and it's dripping oil from the sump. I've had a look, the actual sump's got a crack in it. That's where the forklift was trying to push the car onto the trailer, but that's just one of those unfortunate things, which not too bad because the sumps come off these quite easily and I've got a spare sump, so we're okay. Good news is these support struts down here, which hold like your radiator tray and everything, they're all good. The radiator's fine. In fact, the whole front end, your grille shutter mechanism, that's all in one piece still. That's a bloody miracle. That's normally gone. Although this lower radiator tray where it sweeps round and bolts onto the bottom of the bumper, that's smashed off, so I have to get a new one of them. But yeah, it's okay. Oh, and actually, just before I actually turn the camera off today and carry on and get most of this put back together, let's get that bolt out. That top panel, so your bonnet sits on these bump stops. It's only like 4 bolts, and you've got wiring that clips on underneath here, and there's also your switch inside there, yeah, if you have a front end crash, to set your airbag off, crash sensor. So I've unbolted that. That can all come out the way. That's scrap. Right, anyway, I'm going to get all the new panels, bolt it back up, and then I'll see what it looks like. Hope it all lines up again. Well, we are certainly coming along. I've just put the wing on, and although this door is damaged, we're not really going to worry too much about the door, because we can touch these little bits up, but we're not going to do the door properly because it's only minor cosmetic stuff. And I'll tell you what, the door opens and closes without catching the wing, so I'm quite happy there. I'm going to shut this bonnet down, because this is the other thing. Will the bonnet line up? And that's actually not bad. That line is about even all the way down, and the bonnet kind of finishes where the wing is, where it's supposed to. And this side, slightly smaller gap this side, but I can adjust this wing out because there's plenty of room to do that on the bolts. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. So I'll carry on bolting the rest of the front together. Brand spanking new bumper. It's almost built up, all painted nicely. The only thing is, the Ford badge, they don't give it with you. So you've got to drill the flipping holes in it. There, and there's 3 of them in all. Nice. If you never change one of these badges, there you go. There's 3 little pegs, and 2 of them are held on by 10 mils as well, and these are glued on. Flip it, you know what? They've made these so they don't come off easily. Anyway, if my calculations are correct, this should pop in like a little lovely. That's it. Beautiful. Well, that's my bumper ready. Also, I've got my lower radiator tray. This is very important bloody panel, you know. It actually holds the wheel arch liner in place, and it also bolts up to hold your front of your bumper in place. So, and these get smashed quite regularly on these bloody taxis. So anyway, I'll put that on later, but the bumper can go on now. Before I bang that bumper back on, I've got the brand new suspension arm here. Unfortunately, I don't have the drive shaft and the shock absorber and all that. That's stood on order from Ford, so as soon as that arrives, I'll bang that all back together. But I have got the new wheel arch liner in place and the headlights in, so we're looking good. In actual fact, once I put the bumper on, which I'm going to do right now, there isn't a heck of a lot more to do. Just bang the suspension parts on when they arrive and put a new sump on it. Right then, you could hardly call this a bumper really, couldn't you? It's not really designed to take any kind of impact. I'd call it more of a finisher trim. Right then, do you know, as of at the moment, everything I put on this car just seems to fit again, which tells me the damage wasn't that bad to start with. I think it looked a whole lot worse than actually what it was. I'm quite impressed. Like the bumper, the wing, everything's just sort of like lined up pretty much as it should do. So all I'm going to do now, I've got to wait for the new drive shaft and shock and all that to arrive from Ford. As soon as they're here, I'm going to bang them on, get it on the ramp, do the tracking, make sure all the wheels are sitting centre in the wheel arches as they're supposed to, and if everything's good, then what I'll do is I'll jot down what kind of price all this has cost. It ain't going to be cheap, I can tell you that. I thought I'd just show you this lovely round wheel. Holy crap, it's certainly in round now. Bloody Nora, that is really bad. I mean, it takes some clout to actually break a wheel like that. And also, look at where the tyre valve sits. Flipping heck, completely smashed. Drive shafts here. I'm going to bang this on, get the car off the jack, and let's see if it drives. Well, the Mini's finally back together, all run up, everything seems fine. Let's see if the bonnet shuts. Woohoo! Let's get it out of here. I'm I'm going to bark this up for the first time in nearly 2 weeks. I shall put it just outside the main garage and we'll see how the wheels line up. Oh, it's running, but at least the battery hasn't gone flat. Oh, we've got the ABS lights on. I'll have to check into that because I have replaced the ABS sensor on the driver's side. So unless there's another problem, I'll put the scanner on it and look at that later. But we're moving. Oh, flipping heck. I've just taken the bloody wheel off again, there, to check out this ABS before I go any further, because I can't have all them lights on the dash. And I tried another ABS sensor, which was perfectly fine, so there's nothing wrong with the sensor, and it was a brand new sensor I put on the car before I put it all back together. And of course, when I unclip the actual wiring loom on the car, the flipping, this plug here goes onto your sensor just there. Let me stretch that out a bit. Yeah, that's your sensor there, which plugs into this is the loom on the car. And look at the wires all the way back here. This was all in like a taped up, factory fitted, and it is snapped right back here, both wires. I reckon obviously in that accident the whole loom's been tugged quite severely and it snapped both wires. So I'm gonna fix these up, get them connected back up, put the wheel back on, then we'll have a look around it and see everything's lined up. I fixed the ABS wire. It wasn't a stretched wire, it had been hit, the part of the suspension and hit the wire, and that's what chopped through the bloody 2 wires. So I've soldered them together, taped them all up, and that's all back together. So yeah, I will here, this is the good bit. You'll notice the wheel is sat central in the wheel arch, because normally when you have an accident you can have the wheel sat too far back or too far forward, but now it's all back together, everything is lined up. I've still got to do the tracking, so that's probably going to be out a little bit. I've drove it around the yard as well and everything seems okay, so as it stands at the minute it's looking pretty good. The rest of the car is, well, it's okay. But yeah, I mean, like the bonnet lines, which I pointed out a while ago, that one's passenger side's absolutely perfectly fine. The bonnet, where it meets the actual top of the bumper here, there's a slightly bigger gap on this driver's side, but that will probably adjust in a bit. Everything else is like fine, headlamps in and that's all bolted in properly. The bumper fits the wing perfectly and the wing comes round and everything fits, so the line down between the door and the wing is fine. So yeah, I'm happy. I reckon once that's tracked up that'll be good to go. But anyway, before I do anything further, when I get a ramp free, because they're all tied up at the minute, I'm going to take the, because I've got to change the sump still, because it's got a crack in the sump, so I better change that. And then once it's tracked up, I'll sit down, get my piece of paper out, and we'll reel off how much all this little lot's cost. Before I go home tonight, I'm just going to let the oil drain out of this sump, and I'll replace that sump in the morning. And I've got a brand new sump here. Also, I managed to get a new sump gasket, sump bung, the O-ring, and the little like pin clip you put in the bloody sump thing. But I'll just show you where this is leaking. If I can get in under here, just there, where that bolt is, just there, that's where it's leaking from. It kept, I mean, it's not going to be leaking now because I've drained the bloody oil out, but them two bolts here, there must be a hairline crack. I can't actually see where it is, but you can, I think you can see just there, that bolt is soaking wet with oil, and it kept running down and dripping off the back of the sump. So there's just a hairline crack in there somewhere. Anyway, I'll get this sump off in the morning and put the new one on, and that'll be that. Okay then. This is it, crunch time. The job is done. I've just checked the tracking. The steering wheel was off to the left a little bit as well. It was towing in about 2 degrees, and it should about parallel, these cars are. So I've set the tracking, I've aligned the steering wheel up, so everything is spot on now. Excellent, I'm happy now. I can wait for the next car to get smashed up and do it all over again. But now is the time we're going to talk about money. Now, everything I put on this car is genuine Ford parts, so just bear that in mind when I reveal the total price. So anyway, how much did it cost to repair this Ford Mondeo Mark V? So, there you go. That's it. That's the video over for today. Do you know, I actually do enjoy putting together smashed up cars. I find it rather interesting. It's certainly more fun than changing bloody oil and filters. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Adios. There, that's the finishing touch.